Hi again. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Rise and Thrive podcast. The episode today is going to be a little bit different because it is a solo episode. That's right, meaning today you have a date with only me, your host Brenda. Today is just going to be me, and the reason why I wanted to have this as a solo podcast is I've been doing a lot of research around side hustles and listening to other business people, interacting with people that are doing side hustles, and also from the comments and feedback that I've received from you guys in my inbox. When these episodes come out, it's really about the side hustle. It's really mainly from people who are saying, you know what, I have a job and I need to have a side hustle. I have this side hustle running. So I just thought today we should focus on side hustles strictly, nothing else. So if you ask me, what is a side hustle? Someone will say, all right, it's a bit obvious. It's what it is. It's a hustle on the side, right? So a side hustle, according to Wikipedia, is a job, right? Or a gig that is additional to what your primary job is. So today we are focusing on people that have their major jobs or their major businesses, but then you have these things on the side. So we are going to focus on the don'ts, right? This is a whole learning process. Rise and Thrive, like I've always said severally, is about learning, relearning, and learning from each other. And over the episodes that we've had, we've heard from so many guests that are doing the balancing act. We've talked about partnerships. We've talked about quite a number of things, to be honest. And thanks and shout out to those that have steadily watched all the episodes. I'm sure you've seen there's really a lot of information coming through, and there's so much you can learn from, right? So today, like I mentioned, we are going to focus on the don'ts, right? And the don'ts are really around ways in which we can improve ourselves as we take on these side hustles. The first thing about a side hustle, the first don't, is do not mix finances. Right now, I can't say I've had my finances right when it comes to business, but I've heard from the guests that have come on the show, we've had several conversations off camera about how they handle their finances. So most of the challenges that people get when they do side hustles is you end up mixing money from your 8 to 5 employment, from your job, whatever you're paid, and you put it into your side hustle. For example, if you listen to some of the hustles that I went through, I thought they were thriving, but at the end of the day, it was because I was mixing money. There's a point where I think it was COVID, we were sustaining a shop, if you all know the Party Paradise that we were running. And for almost a year, the shop was not making money, but we were getting money off our salaries, my partner and I, until we got to a point and we said, okay, so if we didn't have the 8 to 5 job, is this business really sustainable? So the beauty about not mixing finances is you get clarity on whether the business is actually profitable or not. You get clarity on the areas that you have to improve on. Do I have to cut down on certain expenses? Do I actually need to pay rent? Can I run this from my home? Can I cut down some of my operational costs, for example, marketing, delivery costs, or things like that, depending on the hustle that you are doing? So the biggest mistake that most of us make is mixing finances. And how best can you mitigate this? One is to just open different bank accounts. And I know there's a lot of drama around opening accounts, but that's the only way you will not mix your finances. You will not be in a position or get tempted to move money from one end to the other. And likewise, your business money should not be used to finance your lifestyle. right? If it's money meant for paying, for example, rent or employees, if you put it, or if you're using the same account, chances are when you get a hitch in your personal life, chances are you're going to use that money. And of course, people will say, okay, then why am I starting the side hustle? Because like I said earlier, the side hustle is to supplement your 8 to 5, the payment or the remuneration you get from your 8 to 5. Understood. But even when you do, you're able to run certain reports, get your bank statement, and know exactly how the money was used, and you're able to account for it. So, my fellow hustlers, one, do not mix finances. Then secondly, your side hustle should not be too time consuming. Remember, a side hustle is additional to what you're doing between your 8 to 5. So if you have a very demanding job, right, and then your side hustle is also extremely demanding, chances are one of them is going to suffer. Right? Chances are either your employer is going to get a tired version of you, or your side hustle is going to get a very exhausted version of you. And when you're exhausted, you're not able to make the best decisions, you compromise on things, and eventually you get so exhausted and you let go of a good thing. So the side hustle should be something that you can easily manage. On your ride home to work, you are working on something, you can step out for lunch and check on it, or when you leave at 5 in the evening, it's something that won't exhaust you, and then the next day you're fresh. On the weekends, you're not totally exhausted, because at the end of the day, when you're starting a side hustle, you still need your 8 to 5. Right? Like for me, I do not compromise on my 8 to 5 because I know the value that it adds to me. And my side hustles are not yet at that point where I can compromise on the side hustle. So you need to be able to know that, okay, this is going to take a lot of my time. So you do the balancing act or the weighing act and say, okay, if, for example, you're producing something and you need to be there physically, you just need to look at your time, what you give your employer, and how much time you're willing to give your side hustle. So number 2 is your side hustle should not be time consuming, because chances are it will exhaust you and you lose out on both sides. So make that choice and make sure it's something that actually does not exhaust you. Number 3 is do not get into partnerships or commitments without any contracts or documentation signed. And this is something that we've spoken severally. I think for all the guests that have come on that have partnerships, I've been curious to find out how they are handling those partnerships. Because if you're not there full time and there is conflict, then what happens? And these are simple contracts that lawyers can draft for you, simple service level agreements. If it's rent, do you have something signed with your landlord? If someone is supplying you, for example, with raw material, do you have agreements on payment terms and things like that? There has to be some documentation that contractually binds you and whoever you're dealing with. Remember, you are not there all the time, and you do not want that stress of knowing that your partner, for example, is stealing from you, your partner is starting a business under your business, or your partner is, not doing the things that you started out to do. So, number 3, do not start a business or get into partnerships in your side hustles without them being contractually binding, right? And they could be your friends. Remember when we had one of the guests on the show and they said, no, I've known this person, we work really well together, this person is whatever. Family can also disappoint you, friends can disappoint you, and also to make sure that the relationship continues going on well without anything. Money really breaks people, or businesses and things like this. They ruin beautiful relationships. So do not start a side hustle that has partnerships or suppliers or distributors and you do not document anything down. It will add a lot of stress to you, right? Do not hide your side hustle. What do I mean by this? I think last week I spoke to 2 entrepreneurs who have eventually, their side hustles eventually evolved into full-time businesses. So these are people who eventually left their jobs to focus on their side hustles, because their side hustles were at that point where it could sustain them in the way their full-time job was doing. And the first thing one of them said is what she struggled with was she had hidden this business from her partner, right? So the partner kind of knew about it, but didn't know the depth of what they were doing in their business. So when they got to a point where they wanted to leave employment and they really struggled, it caused a bit of friction to start explaining and saying, at lunchtime I run, I do this, in the evening, the money you've been giving me, I do this. So it caused a lot of friction. And also, if you don't speak up about it, how do you expect to get help? Right? And how do you expect to be supported? Right? Do not hide your side hustles from your family and friends. And most times it's because you feel you will be judged. Because some side hustles, like for one of the other entrepreneurs that I spoke to, she was going to deal in thrifted clothes, right? And she felt that how do people hear that a whole manager at her workplace is dealing in second-hand clothes? So she had that thing of, no, it can't be me. So she had a girl that would help her with the running around and things like that, but she was embarrassed about it. And yet at the end of the day, this is a business that has since grown leaps and bounds. And imagine if she had started off by being open about it, the number of customers that she lost, or the amount of support she could have received from her family, right? And then the other one, the most important one, is if you have an 8 to 5 job, please declare to your employer if possible. And here is why. There are some hustles that may be perceived to be in conflict with what you actually do. And I know this happens a lot, like with banks, right? You cannot, for example, supply some of their customers. You cannot get into the money lending business. You cannot be seen to be a supplier to a company that is being banked by that bank. Or you cannot be seen to be a distributor. Like, you cannot be seen to have certain relationships that may compromise you at the workplace. And this is just really to make sure that they curb on the risk that may arise from that relationship failing. So off from you being compromised, right? So depending on what kind of hustle you have and depending on the type of employer that you have, I think it is very important that you declare. And most of them have that. They give you the opportunity. And I know it's weird that some employers will eventually use it against you, which is so sad. But if I declare business to you, or if you declare business to your employer, and it's not there's no conflict of interest, you're not going to be compromised, it always puts you in a better situation. So imagine you start a business, you're running it 3 years down the road, it's on its way to growth, and then your employer finds out, and they are the kind that say, okay, you didn't declare it, and it causes you issues at work, right? And then sometimes you may be forced to shut it down, or you may be forced to choose between your employer and your side hustle, and yet your side hustle may not be at that point where you're ready to get into it full time. So the other don't really is, do not hide your side hustle. Be proud of it and let everyone know about it. I mean, that's how you get clients, that's how you get referrals, and that's how you will get support. The other don't is, do not get into a side hustle that you do not understand. Now, this point is very important because this has been my weakness for the longest time. Someone comes to you with a calculator and they say 1 + 1 is 10 million, but you don't understand anything about that business. You don't understand what it entails. You do not understand how you make money. But because someone has told you that once you start selling Irish potatoes, it's what's going to make you money. Or someone will tell you that, now our children are being born every day, we need to buy baby clothes. But you haven't thought about how you're going to source them. 1, 2, how are you going to market? Who is going to be your target market, for example? how much time or how much of you do you need to give to this business? Because the person may come to you and say, okay, I've been doing this side hustle and for me, it's been making really good money for me. But what they will not tell you are the failures or the amount of time and mental space and the drain that it takes away from them for them to make that money. Most people will not give you their trade secrets. And this is very, very, very actually the one that most people really struggle with is agriculture, corporate farming. Someone tells you right now the Bazungu are really buying watermelons. You do not understand how to source the best seeds. You do not understand what kind of soils you need to get, very, very good bumper harvests. You do not know how much you will need in terms of maintaining your garden. But someone has told you, I hear you have land, it's idle, but this is what is going. And I have so many friends and family who have really been a victim to this. And it's called remote farming. Right? Remote farming will never work until maybe you have structures in place, until you understand. It's okay to be a remote farmer, but do you understand what it is you're doing? Do you understand what it takes to produce ginger, for example? Do you understand what it takes, for example, to say, okay, right now, sugar cane is what's on, there are all these off-takers, they are being paid a lot of money, but do you understand what it takes to actually get that sugar cane harvested? Right? So the other don't for me is do not, and from my experience, I'll tell you this, do not get into a side hustle that you do not understand. And that leads me to the other don't. Do not get into a side hustle that you're not passionate about. Because when you are passionate about something, chances are you will give it time. We give time to things we are passionate about. If you're passionate about writing, right, you'll give time to writing. If you're passionate about baking, right, someone doesn't need to remind you to bake. You'll just get up and bake because it's something you love. And then it relates to the first point. When you're passionate about something, chances are you will do your research on it, right? Chances are you will be a bit more, you will try to understand this particular thing that you want to do more. So if you're not passionate about something, please do not get into it unless you are sure it's something that you can grow to love and do. And I know most of you out there like me, your passion is money. You're like, you know what? I just need to make money. But that is how we end up doing 14 side hustles, 10 side hustles that keep failing and failing. What I've learned is right now, if I'm not passionate about something, if I don't love to do something, if I do not wake up in the night to think about that thing in a way that it makes me happy, I'm not going to get into it. And I would advise the same. Don't get into a side hustle because someone has said, okay, the money is coming. And I know things are tight in the economy, but chances are it may not be easy for you. It may exhaust you. It will not come naturally to you because you're putting in a lot more effort, which is still okay. If you do your research right, you understand the workings of the business, well and good, but chances are it will exhaust you and it will not be sustainable. Right? I hope we are still together on the don'ts. The other don't is do not get into a side hustle without a structure. Like I said, a side hustle is something you do beyond your 8 to 5, beyond your normal job. So how are you supposed to run it if you do not have structures? And it's understandable. Structures tend to cost money, right? Because maybe you have to hire someone. You need to hire someone, for example, to help you with distribution, with marketing, with sourcing, and things like that. But with structures in place, you can actually get to a point where you trust someone to do it. And most of us, when we start our businesses, because most side hustles are passion projects, so it's your baby, you do not want to let it go. Then you are at work and someone is calling you and saying, okay, we've run out of flour. For example, if you have a bakery and then you are the one running to go and look for flour, or they tell you this is not working, or you're stressed at work, or, when you're supposed to be having your personal time because you do not have structures. And it's a challenge though, to play devil's advocate, it's very hard to get structures in place right now because trust is a very big issue. And most times you'll hear cases of people saying, oh, we were robbed, we hired someone and the person, just, ran away with money, or you hire people that just don't care about your business. They don't understand it as well. So they are bad to your customers. So it's really, really hard to put structures in place because at the end of the day, it's the structure that makes you focus on your 8 to 5. And yet again, it's difficult, but it's something that we have to do. So if you want your side hustle to run and run well, put in place structures. The other thing that I will advise, for example, on the marketing side is you can do a lot of automation. I'll tell you one thing I've learned though. For example, I have an 8 to 5 and I cannot shoot, for example, let me use myself as an example. I can't shoot the podcasts every day or every Wednesday when they air. I actually shoot them weeks in advance. Right? For example, you can shoot maybe 3 or 4 episodes in one day on a Sunday because that's the time that I have available. Even today, it's a Sunday because it's the time that I have available, right? So you shoot those episodes and then you schedule them so that on Wednesday, I'm at work, the episodes come out at 4. I'm not stressed about how will I upload? Do they need to air? Blah, blah, blah. So I schedule these episodes even 3 to 4 days before. So you schedule them, and that's the beauty of automation. And the same can work with marketing. If you post a lot on Instagram, if you post on most of these social media channels, there's an option for you to schedule their apps where you schedule your posts, schedule anything you want to put out there to market your business. And for example, you can schedule and say every 10 a.m. every day on Instagram, I'll be putting out a post on XYZ. So automation is really important. You come up with content for a period of time for your business, and then you have, this app just upload it for you. So what that does is between your 8 to 5, you are not stressed about, oh my God, you're in a meeting, it's 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and you're thinking, oh my God, I have not posted about my business on Instagram, or your followers are asking, for example, if you're selling product online, someone is inquiring and they're on your case, they're like, oh my God, I've seen this. What is the price? Can you deliver? But if you have someone else handling that for you, right? Or if you clearly say, you know what, I can only respond, send messages, and I can only respond, for example, between 1 and 2. Takes away a lot of stress from you. So make sure you have structures in place and automate. There are all these tools right now that you can use, and they do not cost much. Most of the apps that actually help with scheduling, that help with even I think there are apps for personal assistant services. They really don't cost much. Sometimes you just need to do it so that you get your business running, because then you're still able to serve your people, but also at the same time you have peace of mind at work, because it's really the thing that you've chosen to do, and it's the one that is sustaining you right now. You wouldn't want to also be in a situation where that is affected. The other don't is, do not fall for quick wins. And I think this is something that I mentioned earlier. It's in relation to, trying to get into business dealings that you do not understand. Those quick wins normally are not sustainable. So do not get into quick wins. Take your time, and do not start a business once your side hustle gets to a certain level. Do not stagnate, allow to grow. And what do I mean by allow to grow? I know there are advantages of you staying as a side hustle and you're on the down low. But if you want your side hustle to grow into something big, then you need to at some point start making steps towards it. And what do I mean by that? Legitimize your business. Get to a point and register the business, right? If you need to, of course, everyone fears and they say, oh, registering means now you will need to start paying taxes and things like that. But sometimes it's a necessary evil. If you need your hustle to get to the next level, those are some of the things that you need to do. Otherwise, you'll forever stay small. So do not stagnate, right? If you need to to pivot your business and change the whole business model, then that is something that you actually need to do. So the other don't is do not stagnate, be open-minded, be open to growth, and be open to legitimizing your business, because that's when actually you start getting better opportunities. Those are the don'ts that I thought we should talk about, and we'll keep expounding on these things. And the way that I want to take Rise and Thrive is that, and I've said this severally, so we learn and gain from each other. So I will be bringing on several guests beyond just business owners or people who have done side hustles that can guide us and make us understand some of these don'ts that I've spoken about and how we can, make better businesses. For example, how do we better network? What are some of the marketing strategies that we can have for our side hustles that are not too bearing on us, right? In a way that it affects us in our 8 to 5. The other thing that I would like to talk about today, and I'll speak about this not in so much detail, but it's a lot of I've been receiving a lot of feedback from the listeners on the issue of financing side hustles. So many have come and said, you know what, we really do want to start some of these things. We want to turn our passions into real businesses and make money, but then the challenge is around financing. And if you are an average Ugandan, you would know right now that there's very little disposable income that people have to do extra. So imagine you're already struggling with that, and then you have to invest into this business that may or may not make money. Yes, business is a risk, but we also have to take calculated risks. So they are really, and it's something that we will have a series on financing side hustles, but then briefly I'll just mention some ways in which you can finance your side hustles. So already I mentioned that most side hustles are passion projects. You love to bake, you love to sew, for example, you love to do makeup. We've had many of those on the show. You love to teach, for example. Some of those things do not need a lot of money to start. You just start with what you have, because the biggest thing then is your talent. It's your skill. It's what you know that no one else knows. For example, you can never catch me baking a cake, even a cupcake, because it's not something I can do. But my neighbor, for example, would be very good at that because they do it and they do it easily. So I could, for example, talk all day, right? And it's something that it's my passion, and it's something that I love to do. So use your passions to start. And once you start, then people start noticing you. Social media is free. For example, you do not need to post, you do not need to waste so much data trying to put your things online. If you remember in the second last episode when we hosted the cooking nurse, and she said her passion was cooking. She started cooking at home using her phone to post on social media. Most of us are always on social media anyway. You buy data every day. So if you love to bake, you can bake a small cake at home, take pictures, and post on social media, and then you've started. You do not need to invest too much. And the other thing that I've noticed from my experience is most of my businesses that have failed totally, it's really because I think big instead of starting small where I am. So I'm already thinking I need like 5 million shillings because I need to buy tablecloths. We need to get this decoration thing going on. The time we were doing our interior decor, we were already bringing in things from the UK. I had no following. No one knew that I was even selling interior decor stuff. But we had invested so much money in that. And yet we could have started with what we had and then grown our following organically through referrals and marketing organically on social media. So you can start with what you have, and then when the business grows, it will naturally speak to you, and then you take the next step and say, okay, now I can, for example, get a loan or do this. The other way in which you can finance your business is through your family and friends. right? Most times, like I said, don't hide these things from your partners. They may be your source of financing, for example. And this comes to what I said earlier about legitimizing your business. So if you have a side hustle that you think and you know can work, come up with a business plan. Write a beautiful business plan, explain your business model, what you need to do, and when that is done, how much money or what will your return be? So that when you give it to your husband, to your wife, to your brother, to your mother, to your father, or to your friends, they can clearly see the vision. You can explain it to them and say, okay, I have done my research. And with my research, for example, if I brought in 1,000 birds now in 3 months, these are the markets I would go to. Like, it has to be detailed to that level. Not saying, guys, I think I now love poultry. I'm going to buy chicken and I'm told we can make money. No one will invest in your business or no one will give you money, right? Your family will be like, okay, are you mad? Because everyone is, in a situation right now. But if someone came to you, for example, and said, guys, one, I have a passion for poultry. I've been doing my research. This is the gap in the market, right? And if I start with 1,000 birds, and I sell to these people, I've already spoken to them. They've explained to me how this works. We will hire, for example, 3 people. This is the market that we'll be taking our things to. This is how we'll be adding value. In a year's time, we should be able to be here, to be there. Tell me why why you would be ignored, for example. Someone will be like, yes, that sounds interesting, because you've put in effort. That means you understand the business, you've done your research, you know exactly what the market is going to be like, how much input you need, and how much you will get out of everything that you do, everything you put towards that business. So come up with a beautiful business plan, and you can speak to your family and friends and say, guys, but also don't go to your family and say, guys, I want to start a cake, a bakery, and you have 0 shillings. Really, that's a bit too much. So you can go to them and say, guys, I can start with maybe 300, but I need support because it only makes sense if I have, for example, 1 million. But right now I have only 500,000. We can come up with a payment plan, document the payment plan, and show them that, you have your skin in the game and you're willing and can pay them back. And even they see the vision through you. So you can, finance your side hustles through your family and friends. The other thing that is not so big in our region, out there, people do a lot of crowdfunding, especially like for tech side hustles. You put it out there and say, guys, this is what we want to do, and people just send you money. It's not so common also because our economies are different and we are not yet at that level. We do not have so much disposable income to throw around like that. But also you could, beyond your savings as well, you could also go to the bank if you're a credible person. But, our banks will most likely ask you for collateral. They'll ask you for, maybe guarantees. If you have, for example, if you're going to be supplying, they'll ask you for your supplier contracts to be able to, to lend to you based on that. So with the banks, it's a bit technical, but if you're a credible person, why not? You can definitely get, some of these personal loans and whatever to be able to finance your side hustle. But the thing with it is you have to be able to pay back, right? So that means you would have to put in a lot more effort on your side hustle so that you maintain that credibility. The other one then is you can look for private capital investors. So these are people who will probably give you debt or buy into your business if it's a good business, that is, and buy into it in terms of ownership. They get shares and give you money. And this is it's more long-term and more sustainable, but also it has to be, you can't say, guys, I'm going to be, for example, selling passion fruits, And then you're looking for an equity investor. It has to be, it's mainly for businesses, not bigger businesses per se, but side hustles that have stood the test of time, that for example are in tech, and someone can see your vision for growth, or you're saying, you know what guys, I'm going to start making crisps, or I'm going to start adding value, for example, to matoke, or I'm going to be doing this. Then they see the value, and they see that with a little more push in the near future, then you'll be able to get money. So those are some of the financing options right now in the market, of course, beyond grants and all of that. And you will ask, okay, where are some of these opportunities? So the other thing also that we will be doing with Rise and Thrive is to bring on to the podcast certain people or organizations that are offering support to small businesses, or to what we call micro and medium sized businesses. So there are opportunities out there. For example, if you're into agri, and for example, you are maybe supporting women in an area, there are some of these opportunities are out there in form of grants, and people give you money to be able to grow your businesses. So it's a bit more complicated, but those opportunities are there, and as and when we come across them, we'll definitely be able to share that information with you. So yes, financing your side hustle, one has to start with you, but there are opportunities, and there's a possibility of them, of you being able to get money from, all these financing options that I've shared. I hope that is of value to you. I know the people that came to me and said, okay, we want to do this, but how do we start? So start, and these are the options that you have. And also remember the don'ts that we shared earlier. So this episode is short. We'll be stopping it right here because it's an info session about the feedback that, of course, I've received from your interaction. But the thing that I'll also request from you, our listeners and viewers, is if you feel you have some kind of authority in the areas that I've spoken about, and you would like to give back in form of sharing with your fellow business people on the things that they can do better and the opportunities that are out there, please feel free to reach out to me. My details are always linked on the episode. Even in my bio, you can see my Instagram. You'll find all the podcast channels, my email addresses, my telephone number. So then you can reach out, and then we partner and see how best we can support people who are trying to grow their side hustles, people who are trying to grow their businesses. Look at it as a way of giving back to them. Yeah. So join me. Also, if you know people out there that have a good story that you think we can learn from as people that are trying to thrive in our businesses, please also share. You can interact with me as well in the comment section, or drop me an email, or give me a call, so that we take this to the next level, meaning we should be able to support each other. A year from now, we should have businesses that are able to share testimony of things they've learned and ways in which their businesses have improved, their earnings have improved, and their lives have been changed. So again, I thank you so much for listening to this podcast, which is a bit unique today, and because it's a solo podcast, but it was intentional because I needed to cover these areas. So thank you, and I look forward. I have a very interesting lineup of guests for the next weeks, and I can't wait for you to listen and learn from these people. So thank you so much. I look forward to hearing back from you. I look forward to interacting with you, and we have a date on the next episode. Let's rise and thrive together.